I am sorry, but what you are about to read is not some imaginary piece of shit. It's what I had to go through without any validation of my feelings and safety. This may or may not trigger you, but it's gonna be a tough read. At the start of this year, I was stalked and harassed by a woman who believed that I was having an affair with her husband. It was over a month of daily harassment over phone, on social media, and at times even in public. She even threw a stone through my window and vandalized my car in my driveway. She was caught on security camera and charges were brought against her. I had to spend a lot on lawyers to threaten legal suits against both the husband and wife to get her to back off. She was having some sort of a mental breakdown and went into a psych hold. Her meds helped and she agreed to stop and accepted that I wasn't the involved party. As part of our legal agreement, she made social media posts apologizing and clearing my name and some financial recompense for damages caused. Was it enough? No. She had no right to f me over with something I had no relation to whatsoever. Yet, I had to suffer for a month. They reimbursed the damage done in money, but could they return me my broken relationship? I guess no. I say so because during all this, my fiancé was of no help at all. We lived together, and he wouldn't do anything to support me. Unbelievable, I know, but this was my gruesome reality, and I was not just struggling with the mad woman, I was also struggling to keep my relationship with my boyfriend intact because of how he was acting out. You want to hear why I needed his support? I got accosted in public places, and he would simply leave. When our condo was attacked, he got in his car and left to stay with a friend. He said it was too embarrassing for him to stay around. He didn't seem to realize that I was scared and felt my life was in danger. He knew that I was innocent in this, and yet he didn't stop his friends and family from believing the worst about me and making snide comments at me. I begged him to help me, and he'd act frustrated, as if there was nothing he could do here. When the woman harassing me made the apology posts, I forwarded them everywhere explaining how I got caught up in someone else's tragedy and I called my fiancé a coward for his behavior, which was also my way of publicly breaking up with him. My parents were very supportive of me throughout this mess and they gave me money for the lawyer's retainer. But they didn't like my public fuck-up to my ex. They said that it was petty of me and asked me to be nicer and not break up. I did eventually remove his name from my posts, but I was not interested in any relationship with him anymore. After this all went away, I was still pretty traumatized and paranoid. I quit my job and I couldn't stand living with my ex. My best friend lived a few states away and she invited me to stay with her as a change of scenery. It was the break I needed. I also found a great job there while I was visiting and decided to settle there. I've been living in this town since then. I have booked tickets to visit my family for Christmas, and last night my mother told me that my ex is staying with them as a house guest. My mother said he wasn't doing too well after I left and my parents let him move in with them. I obviously don't want to see my ex-boyfriend out of all the people on Christmas for Christ's sake, and I am pretty hurt that my parents are taking care of this man who did not stand by me. What if I tell my parents I am not visiting as long as he's in their home? Sadly, Ada deleted my previous post because of mention of violence, but there was no violence in there. I had mentioned harassment and vandalism, but no violence happened. I had logged into Update and can't do it on Ada, so we'll write down here for people who've been messaging me requesting for an update about what I finally decided to do on Christmas. So here you go. I didn't go home for Christmas. I called my parents and told them I wasn't coming, and that set off a lot of recrimination and arguing. My mom got pretty upset at me for my coldness, and my dad even reprimanded me for breaking Mom's heart. Mom is trying to get me back together with my ex-boyfriend. My dad basically goes along with whatever my mom wants to do. I asked them why they'd want me to be with someone who didn't protect me, and my mom said if the stalker was a man, he'd have protected me, but it was just a woman, a lady from a good home, so there wasn't any real danger. This was news to me because when it was happening, both were worried about my safety, but now they were downplaying it. This is the exact argument my ex-boyfriend had used with me earlier, and they are buying into his story. I mean, if you see the picture now, I didn't lose just my boyfriend. I lost my parents and my boyfriend. For nothing. As if all this bullshit wasn't enough, my mom goes into how this was embarrassing for my ex and said that I had wronged him by putting him in this situation. This brought up a long history of my mom's disappointment in me. I was never what she wanted me to be. I know she loves me and had thought our differences were the typical mother-daughter conflict that everyone has. But my mom has fears that run deeper than that. She is not your regular mom. She is a slim, svelte, and pretty woman who is very particular about manners and appearances. I got my build from my dad's side of the family, and I am very curvy with large breasts. My weight and my figure has always been a cause of concern for my mom, who would pressure me to cover up and downplay it. She wanted me to go into teaching or medicine, but I didn't do well enough in school for that. I ended up forming a career in sales, and I am very good at it. I am proud of myself and my achievements nonetheless, thanks to my dad's secret motivation. I was making good money at a large corporation, and while I dressed modestly, I no longer wore baggy clothes, but professional suits with a good fit. The fact that I look like I do and that I do sales was scandalous to my mother. This was about my previous job, the one I don't work at anymore because I settled in my best friend's town, and I am now working a new job here. Now a lot of you, like a crazy amount of you guys, have attacked me by saying there has got to be something related to me which caused the outrageously crazy wife to doubt me and come at me with all those pathetic accusations and all the vandalism which indirectly ruined my life. To be honest, I was not involved with her husband in any way, but there is something I'd like to share to make things clear enough for you guys to decide. So the guy whose affair brought problems in my life is a manager in the same company I used to work for. We worked on the same floor in different departments. I think he let me take the fall because knowing who he was having the affair with would have put his job in jeopardy and would have been a lot more scandalous. My mother thinks the wife putting the blame on me was inevitable because I have the look. She thinks her fears about my appearance and career had come true in this incident. She is horrified that instead of learning from my mistakes, I now have a job as client relationship manager, even though it is at a financial firm. She feels pressured to force me to come home and get married and leave my career behind. I mean, what the fuck? I am so sad about how all this has turned out. My relationship ended and now I am losing my parents. Meanwhile, that cheating man and his psycho wife are still married and he still has the same job. My ex-boyfriend's parents retired and are living in a warmer state. My parents had really liked him and his parents are also family friends that they want to be on good terms with. So I get it to an extent, but having him living in their house is too much. Yes, I do feel betrayed, but people around me say that my anger is unreasonable. I had started therapy before I had moved and my therapist also said that my anger at my ex was misplaced. I have a new therapist now and they are focused on my PTSD. When this started, my first worry was my fiancé. I gave him access to everything to show him that I had no contact with this guy. He always said he believed me, but then he'd do nothing. Every time it was, "What did you expect me to do?" I'd tell him what he ought to do and he'd just ignore that. When it was just the two of us, he did all the right stuff, comforted me while I cried, took me to doctor appointments since I had developed insomnia, made me my favorite meals. But outside of that, he wanted to hide and not deal. Thank you for saying all those comforting things that you guys did. I'm gonna ignore the mean ones for my own good. I am having a hard time accepting this fact about my parents. They supported me through my difficult times and they think they are still trying to protect me. They don't see that I'd be happier if they just let me be. This was the first time I was all alone on Christmas. My best friend is the only person I really know here and her family flew out to be with her in-laws. I am trying to tell myself it'll be okay, but I am feeling so lonely and depressed. My parents are wrong. Wrong, wrong, wrong. Many of you wrote, and I will generalize it. My mom is very frustrating to read about. As a woman, she especially should have understood me and supported me, and instead, she is blaming me and coddling my ex. It's so heartbreaking. I wouldn't ever go to visit them as long as my ex is staying there. I hope I meet someone amazing here and make peace with my parents in whatever form that takes. It's true, my mother doesn't care about me. She cares about appearances. She cares about her beauty standard and how that applies to me. She cares about the career she thinks I should have. She cares about the guy she thinks I should marry. She thinks about what I should do in my life regardless of what I want and what is good for me. She does not care about me. I am so sorry for myself that my doormat of a father and shallow, misogynist mother are still supporting that craven twit. I wish and hope I can spend the next round of holidays with people who genuinely care about me. Hello everyone. I am posting this from a new account as I cannot access my old one. It's been a year now to that horrible phase of my life. It's Christmas season again. I'll come straight to the point. My boyfriend contacted me 6 months into the breakup saying he was terribly sorry for not being there for me and supporting me like he should have while I was being harassed by that cheating asshole's wife. What a coward he had been, and I think he still is. I feel blessed that he's out of my life and even my house. I wonder why my parents haven't contacted me yet to come see them. I am in this new town since a year, and I don't think I will ever go back again. My parents occasionally called me to check if I was alive and thriving and asked if I needed anything, to which I always denied. I didn't want favors. I wanted their love and support, which they redirected towards shitbag. I never initiated any form of communication. I didn't need to because I met so many amazing people here. My landlady treats me like her own granddaughter. She lives alone in the huge ass place and rents out young and decent girls to make some extra money. She doesn't need it. Her ancestors left her enough for a few generations to come. She stayed single and decided to enjoy everything herself. She takes a lot of endearment after me, and we eat our dinners together. Her nephew Jacob, the apple of her eye, is my current boyfriend. We've been together for about 4 months now, and he makes sure I go to bed smiling from ear to ear or too exhausted by the awesome sex. It all seems very strange how the pieces fit together, but this part of my life is the best I've ever had in years, and I don't want to jinx anything, but I feel I may be pregnant. I'll have to wait and see after I miss my period. Yeah, it's all a fairy tale. But it's true. So the wife seemed like the villain to me earlier, but it was the husband who actually let me take the fall for his unfaithfulness towards his pregnant wife and his extramarital affair. Yes, the poor woman was pregnant, and he made her go through hell and sat comfortably while she was dragging herself from door to door to get the truth for her own mental relief. I used to think I was the one being wronged, but when I think of that man's wife, I realize all of this was a blessing in disguise for me, but sheer hell for her. They're still together. I don't know why, and I don't care. She found out who he was cheating on her with. It was the store owner's wife. Apparently, the store owner was so drowned in his own debauchery that his wife ultimately found solace in the pregnant woman's husband. The same woman who earlier vandalized my house and life, doubting me about sleeping with her husband.